we were talking about earlier, it's really not very engaging. It's really hard to sustain. One of the kids that joined my martial arts class a while back, he was scared of burglars. And it didn't really last that long because fear is not a good long-term motivator. But if you take these positive things, if you understand why you want to do this, because you're being a more valuable partner, because you're going to protect your residents and investors, because you can, because you care about your community, then the how and the what became far more powerful. It's kind of like a little nuclear reactor core at the center of your preparedness. Now, how do you take this on? Because it's an awful lot to do, right? You know Olin's joke, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And how do you get people to want to do that? Don't call it elephant. Right? In fact, we actually have to talk about this like the yellow brick road preparedness, like how you can basically do this a brick at a time. Things like, I always like the example of what they like to call wayfinding. So if I was asking you where the restroom is right now, you would tell me, go to the end of the hall, see the fire extinguisher that's there, turn left by the fire extinguisher. You know, or the AED device that's at the foot of the stairs. That's where how you get to the elevator. So you use preparedness things as landmarks. This does work. Becoming Independent, a nonprofit that serves developmentally disabled adults in Napa Valley. Basically, they've been taking this on with the agency I used to work for, CARD. They just come in for a whole series of trainings. And when the quake struck, within 30 minutes, the staff was ready to do it. They knew they were okay. They knew their families were okay. Now they were ready to help their clients. And they basically went to do the impacted area all over that area, Napa to Sonoma to American Canyon. 200 clients either face-to-face or by phone. One person did have to be evacuated because her home was not safe to occupy. It just became a really powerful thing that you can take on. All right? That is mostly my time. Topics I can talk about in the future. How you should sign up for alerts. It's not the same thing as Nixle. AC are not the same thing as Nixle. And Nextdoor and social media is a great way to stay informed on things. A lot of things about disasters get posted on Twitter. And by the way, who are you going to call in a disaster? 211. 211, very good, yeah! And our website and our social media. Some things I can talk about skill building. I can talk about how you can build skills for children. I love doing that actually. I love doing stuff like for kids and for child care providers. I'm just going to zip through this real quickly. But all these kind of skills like how you do drop, cover, hold on. And the thing that's really important about this is the one I'll actually point out, is that when you're teaching kids things, it really matters what they see. It really matters what the kind of example that you set. Optimism is a learned behavior. If you behave optimistically, the children will see that as a role model. Age-appropriate actions can be really critical. Practicing the skills can be really critical. Opportunities everywhere. You can actually have fun with it. It can actually become like a form of play. Seniors. This actually came up, actually not just for seniors, for anybody with access and functional needs. The buddy system. So Vance Taylor, who's the California Office of Emergency Services, points out that the buddy system is the most effective way of protecting seniors, mobility impaired, children, you name it. And by the way, it doesn't cost anything. It costs almost nothing, but the research shows it's just proven effective. So all the kind of kids like that, I could talk about that. I could talk about a specific topic like evacuation. In fact, I could talk for another 20 minutes just about evacuation. That's Vance Taylor, and actually borrowing from him. So this is actually evacuation in the context of run, hide, fight. But because he's a wheelchair user, he pointed out that, yeah, you kind of lost me a lot. Right? It's kind of hard to run when you're in a wheelchair. But the point he was making here is that if you know how to evacuate for an active shooter, you know how to evacuate. Evacuation is a skill. He did this for one of our GOAD things. So all the things that we could cover for evacuation. I'm just kind of giving you kind of a taste of this kind of stuff, because if you guys want me to come in for any of your local groups or come back a bit later to a specific topic, I can totally cover that for you. You know, incident command system for evacuation. That's why I said I could talk for another 20 minutes about this kind of thing. An incident command system is actually something that came from, I'm glad you mentioned the Open Hills Fire. The aftermath of the Open Hills Fire is where ICS was born. I'm going to try and skip ahead here because there's one thing you guys might want me to talk about. You guys know about this? The public safety power shut-off, the PSPS. So basically PG&E might need to shut off power.
There's somebody looking in a car.
Good eyes.
Have we got to,
Yeah, so
break in?
So you just came around to the left side down here. He's wearing sort of burgundy pants.
It would not be the first time.
Yeah. I got your car again.
I've been broken, my car's been
Okay, sounds good.
during big meetings.
All right, I'll take that as a signal I need to totally wrap it up. But basically, just be aware about this part. Did you guys know about this? You got something in the mail or heard about it on the radio?
Yeah, that would make 3.
So it's called public safety power shutoff. And they basically have factors that would lead to this, like the wind condition, the level of humidity, if the vegetation is dry, we're not getting to that part of the season now, right? Threat fire, electrical infrastructure. If it's very windy and the wires are blowing around a lot, that's a problem, right? On-the-ground observations, actually looking at stuff. You know, basically a whole assessment of the public safety risk on this. If they do that, and you know, basically planning to not be without power, it should be part of your toolkit anyway, right? It's something you kind of want to know how to do. So having it part of your personal plan. If you have medical needs, this is really important. If you have refrigerated medication, you really got to think about what you'll be doing if you're without power. Restock your kit with fresh batteries and such. Charging methods for your phones. One of my favorite things that my wife gave me for Christmas last year was this really cool device. This is a solar charged, hang on here, I gotta be careful, flashlight that's also a phone charger. So it's actually good for a single phone charge, and it's solar powered. So that's kind of a handy thing to have in your toolkit. Right? They have a lot of camping options like that. You know, how to get out of your garage door. If you have a generator, know how to use it. They actually have a fact sheet. I'll show that website a little bit later on. If you depend on this, you really want to have some plans in place if you have medical needs, or if a buddy of yours has medical needs. So you want to make sure that you've got emergency phone numbers handy, a backup location you can go to if you have to. You know, make sure that your energy company is aware of your medical needs. They have registries for this. Maybe have another backup power source of some kind, like I showed you. You know, and have people you can contact for help. Again, there's the buddy system again, right?
Yeah.
These are the steps that they're going to be taking to get the power reestablished. So if you go to the website I show you later, you'll actually see almost this exact wording. But here's the key thing. Be prepared for an outage that will last for more than 48 hours. The guy who did from PGE who did a presentation for the Emergency Management Association basically said could be 3 to 5 days. So you want to make sure you have that. That's one reason I want to make sure I was positive on that. They're going to be having an open house. They're having a whole series of open houses. The next open house here is going to be July 8th at the Oakland Marriott from 8 to 6 to 8. So if you need to know more about this or want to know more about this, go to the Oakland Marriott on July 8th, 6 to 8. And they actually have all the open house schedule at PGE.com Wildfire Safety. In fact, I'm going to actually kind of wrap up on these two. PGE Wildfire Safety and prepareforpowerdown.com. So this is our local PG&E, and this is basically the power for the entire state of California. Okay? All right. I'm going to skip over that. I just want to thank you all for inviting me to be here today. Any questions?
Yes. What would be, how would you think about where to put a kit that's going to be safe if you're not by it in a disaster?
So that's actually a question when I do the full training. I actually ask people that very question. So this little $10 kit, where do you think you could put this?
Left compartment of your car.
Left compartment of your car. Where else in your car?
Trunk.
Trunk, excellent. Where else in your car?
In the part underneath.
Front seat, good.
Where your tire is, you could put it in the middle, underneath,
Great.
and pick up the back.
Awesome. So there's all kinds of places just in your car where you can put it. Where else? Nightstand. How many people do drop cover hold on, the great shakeout? You guys know about that? Off the Evacuation, the great shakeout? We have these under our desks at my work. So underneath my work, after we did the drop cover hold, we can pull that out. So I like to be like a squirrel. I like to have some of my nuts here, some of my nuts there. I don't like to have all my eggs and nuts in one basket, so to speak. That's a great question. Any other questions?
I just wanted to add one tip that most people have maybe left over before cell phones and a radio that battery operated, and take a tape, often like a duct tape or something, and tape to the side of that radio the AM stations where our emergency information is broadcast, because one of the worst things in these situations is rumors. And if you have the tape right on your radio, you don't have to go looking for it in your manual that you took the course 6 months ago. It'll be taped right on the radio. Now you're going to ask me what it is. It's KCBS, and I forget the 740 AM. So just tape that right on the radio. It'll always be there for you to immediately. Also, our brains go a little haywire when we're frightened. It's hard to remember things, and If it's taped and written, everybody can just see it.
Did I get that right? I'm not going to type in. Also, actually, I was at a mass notification seminar, and the National Weather Service is looking into, because the NOAA weather radios still exist, and they're actually looking at using those for mass notifications. Because here's the thing, they do serving like those beep, beep emergency alerts that people would get in their TV stations. A lot of people don't watch TV anymore. A lot of people stream. So those emergency area service alerts don't happen when you're watching Hulu or Netflix. You know, a lot of people don't have landlines anymore. You know, so if you haven't done things like gotten into AC alert, yeah, that's a great tip. I want to make sure it's actually up here.
How confident do you feel that 211 is going to be adequately staffed and available in the event of a real emergency, given the amount of demand that's going to be on it?
So his question for the back of the room is how confident do we feel that 211 will be adequately staffed? And the answer to that is I'm actually quite confident because the staffing will probably be from out of state or from Southern California. And the reason I know that is because that's what we did for our sister 211s during other disasters. So Hurricane Harvey, we were helping 211 Texas with a couple of hundred calls. That's how we got their staffing. And the technology allows that to happen. It's very easy to reroute phones, and getting access to their database is like that, because it's a cloud-based database. That's a great question. And because we've done it for others, they're going to do it for us. I guarantee you they're going to do it for us. And we have plans in place for getting ourselves reestablished in another location if we have to. So, great question. Yes, sir?
Could you talk a little bit about the likelihood of having one of these power shutdowns happen here in Rockridge?
So the guy at PGE really couldn't answer that. In fact, a lot of people were really pressing him because he had city managers and emergency managers there, asking him, where's the map? Can we see the map of what might be affected? He said, yeah, we can't do that for security reasons. And we can't have that out. They're going to have a portal apparently that city managers will be able to log into during the duration of that. The likelihood, he just really couldn't say. It's just hard to say. Basically, the official word right now, in fact, I actually have that on a flyer that they had provided, and one of those websites I showed you actually had the flyer there. It could happen to anyone in the state of California. It could happen to anyone. And part of the reason for that is because this year, unlike last year, they're not just doing the distribution lines, they're also considering the transmission lines. So even though Oakland may not be in a high wind area, our transmission lines going there, maybe going to an area that is affected, and they may have to flip the switch on that. And there's a lot of concerns about that. Port of Oakland is really concerned too, because their point was, when you turn the power back on, you got to let us know before you do it, because you can't just flip the switch and have all those systems come back on again. By the way, here's a quick little side note. My parents happen to live in Hawaii, so my ears perk up. Apparently, 80% of Hawaii's food supply comes through the Port of Oakland.
Wow.
Only 15% of the food is grown locally in Hawaii. And I actually looked this up. According to was it Newsweek? No, it was U.S. News and World Report. They apparently have about 15 days worth of stuff on shelves, which I found astonishing. So disasters have a ripple effect, right? The state of Hawaii could be really badly affected if Oakland is down for some reason. So these are great questions. Any others? Yes, sir.
Can you speak to how close we are or not to having early warning system for earthquakes?
It's so funny you should ask that, because Oakland actually did a test on that. And again, at this seminar I was at, they were doing tests and they're looking at implementing that system. And the city of Oakland's test worked pretty darn well. The results are still being kind of compiled and such, but they were basically doing a polygon that they drew around the Lake Merritt and downtown area, because one of the things they're concerned about with alerts is what they call bleed over. If you're going to tell a certain area to evacuate, you don't want that message to go to people that you don't want to evacuate. And why do you want them not to evacuate?
Because it'll clog everything up.
Clog everything up, right? Exactly, right? So you want to be able to control that. And the lead over actually worked out really well.
And anybody still Sonoma County?
Yeah. Well, Hurricane Rita in Texas. That's before they figured out the contraflow situation, right? Now, here's the other thing that's important about earthquakes is a lot of people, because for earthquake alerts, it's a matter of seconds, a matter of minutes, right? And you just weren't clear if the system was going to be fast enough for that. It looks like it will be. It looks like people will actually get an alert a couple of minutes before the shock wave makes it to here if the epicenter is a certain distance away. And that'll give you enough time to basically beep, drop cover, hold on. Doors open automatically, BART slows automatically, things like that.
To add to that, I know a guy at UC Berkeley who's in charge of putting sensors all around the state. And he said if they really just need more funding and they can really accelerate it. They have a lot of the technology. This is now the state funding I'm talking about, not city.
Yeah.
So write your assembly people if you're interested in making sure that money gets. It's something people don't think about. And the
USGS they totally geek out over this, because they basically talk about what can you do with like a half a minute. or a minute? And the answer, I don't know if you guys ever saw Galaxy Quest, because the Galaxy Quest is like 13 seconds, right? That little time travel, you can do a lot in 13 seconds. So just having fire doors open automatically, so the engines aren't trapped, like happened during the earthquake in California. That's a remarkable thing. That's a great question, I like that. Anybody else? So the questions ran over, but I'm sorry about that, but hey, it's a fun topic, and I could talk all day about this. Yeah, no worries, no worries. All right. Well, I will stick around.